Hello and welcome to the Broke Jugglers Project. I'm Jeff Harden and today I'm finally going to be talking about clubs. Now, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, I'm really not interested in producing a one-piece club. They're already out there, they're already very cheap, there's really no reason for me to go after them. Besides that, I don't really like them. Now, today I'm going to be talking about a composite club, and what that is basically just a bunch of pieces put together in whole to form a juggling club. Now, these tend to be a lot lighter and they tend to be a lot easier on your hands, and I'll explain why in just a bit. Now, the pieces that go into this kind of club are as follows. Starting at the top, you've got a cap. This is usually either a hard foam or rubber, and it's just to protect the top of the club or your face, depending on how hard you go. And yeah, nothing fancy. Then, right below that, you've got the bell. The bell is rounded and it's what gives the juggling club its bowling pin type appearance. Now, this is where all the hiccups come from producing your own club, but I'll get into that in just a minute. Finally, below that, you've got a wooden dowel, and that's a little misleading because the dowel actually runs the entire length of the club. It's there for the entirety of the club, but you actually don't see any of it because it's covered by the bell and the top cap on the top. And for the handle, it's usually wrapped around with either hard plastic, vinyl, or both. Now, that hard plastic and vinyl has a little bit of a gap between it and the wooden dowel, and what this accomplishes is it gives it a little bit of flexibility and it gives it a buffer between that and the dowel so that when you juggle it and it hits your hand, it doesn't just whack it. There's stuff there to absorb the impact, and that's one of the biggest draws of a composite club. Finally, at the very bottom, you've just got a knob. Nothing fancy, usually either rubber or hard foam, just like the top cap. Very easy to find if you don't feel like making it yourself, but they're also not very hard to make. Now, in producing the clubs, the hardest part, in fact, the only real speed bump in the process, is the bell. Um, a lot of times when I've made my own clubs, I've found either toys that I could cannibalize, or a friend of mine made a set of clubs for himself. He actually found decorative toy juggling clubs and just took the bell off them, put his own handle on. But to produce these, I'm going to have to look at a couple of options. Now, the first one on the list is 3D printing. And when I first had the idea for the Broke Jugglers project a couple years ago, it was right at the advent of 3D printers becoming mainstream, and I thought, that's genius. Why wouldn't I just use one of those? Make myself some juggling clubs. But it's kind of just that. If I wanted to make myself juggling clubs, it might not be a bad option. But to try and mass produce them, they take way too much time and it'll start getting a little bit costly. So 3D printers out. Next, we have injection molding. This would basically entail me going to a company that does this stuff day in and day out and going, hey, this is what I need. Can you give me 1,000 of them? This would entail for me, I'd have to figure out the plastic that I want to use ahead of time, as well as draw up my own specs, maybe even make my own AutoCAD file to give to them, depending on the company. Some companies will do that for you. But there's also usually a setup fee of anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 for them to make the mold, and then they'll charge you per piece as they make them for you. Below that, there's rotomolding or slush casting. I actually just heard about this yesterday from a friend of mine. This would be more for me to produce these at home. You basically make your own mold, you fill it with a resin, and you keep it rotating, and it eventually turns into the plastic piece that you've designed. Now, I like the sound of this because it is very do-it-yourself. It is very homemade, which is kind of why I dig it, but I have to look into the feasibility of making mass quantities. It seems like I'd be kind of slowed down, but it might be something worth looking into. So yeah, that's clubs in a nutshell. I'm actually dog sitting for the next couple of days, so I may be taking a break from these videos. I may not, but at the very least, one of the rooms here has very high ceilings, so I thought, why not film a juggling video? So it may be a day or two, but the next video, come on back, it will be performance-based. It'll be very nice. Anywho, thanks for watching. As always, if you can't donate, please like, comment, share, subscribe, tweet, Reddit, uh, Flickr. Is that a thing? I don't know. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.